The sun was already blazing over the small town of Willow Creek when 12-year-old Ethan Miller walked out of his modest wooden house with a brown paper bag clutched tightly in his hand. His shoes were worn, the laces uneven, and his backpack had a tear along the seam that his mother had stitched again and again. Inside the paper bag was his lunch: a peanut butter sandwich, an apple, and a small bottle of water. It wasn't much, but to Ethan, it was enough. His family didn't have the luxury of buying fancy snacks or hot lunches from the school cafeteria. His mother worked double shifts at the diner on Main Street, and his father, once a carpenter, had been struggling to find work for months. Money was always tight, but his parents tried to ensure Ethan never went to school hungry. As he walked toward school, Ethan's stomach growled. Breakfast had been just a slice of bread, and he thought about how good that sandwich would taste later. But as he turned onto Maple Avenue, he noticed a figure sitting on the curb near the grocery store. It was a boy about his age, dressed in clothes that looked even more worn than Ethan's. His hair was messy, his cheeks smudged with dirt, and his eyes were hollow with hunger. The boy clutched his stomach, looking down at the pavement as people passed him without a glance. Ethan slowed his steps, his heart tugging painfully. He knew hunger. He knew what it felt like to lie awake at night with an empty stomach. Without overthinking, Ethan walked over. "Hey," he said softly. The boy looked up, startled. His eyes were pale blue and filled with shame. "Hi," he whispered, his voice weak. "Are you a broken bar? Are you hungry?" Ethan asked. The boy hesitated, then gave a small nod. Ethan looked down at his paper bag. Inside was the only food he had for the day. For a brief second, he thought about his own hunger, the long hours until dinner, and how difficult it would be to focus in class. But then, looking at the boy's frail frame, he felt a warmth of compassion overwhelm him. He held out the bag. "Here, you can have my lunch." The boy's eyes widened. "No, a broken bar, you don't have to." "That's yours." "It's okay," Ethan said with a shy smile. "I'll be fine." The boy took the bag slowly, as though it were the most precious gift in the world. His hands trembled as he opened it and bit into the sandwich. Tears filled his eyes as he whispered, "Thank you." Ethan shrugged, embarrassed. "Don't worry about it." He gave a little wave and started walking again, his stomach aching louder now, but his heart feeling strangely full. At school, the hours dragged on. Ethan's hunger gnawed at him, and he found it hard to concentrate. When the bell rang for lunch, he sat quietly at a table, sipping from the water fountain while his classmates unpacked their meals. Some had pizza, some had sandwiches stacked with meat and cheese, and some had bags of chips and cookies. A couple of boys at the next table laughed and joked, not noticing Ethan's empty spot. He didn't mind. He was used to being invisible. By the time school ended, his head felt light, and he trudged home, hoping his mom would have dinner ready earlier than usual. That evening, the Miller family gathered at the kitchen table. His mother had managed to cook a pot of vegetable soup with some bread. It wasn't much, but the warm smell made Ethan's stomach growl in relief. Just as they sat down, there was a knock at the door. His father frowned. Who could that be at this hour? Ethan ran to the door and opened it. Standing outside was a man in a neat suit, holding a bag of groceries. Behind him was the same boy Ethan had shared his lunch with that morning. The boy looked cleaner now, his face washed, and his eyes brighter. "Good evening," the man said warmly. "Are you the Millers?" "Yes," Ethan's mother replied cautiously, wiping her hands on her apron. The man smiled. "My name is Robert Hayes. I'm the owner of the grocery store down the street. This morning, your son shared his lunch with a boy in need. My son, Caleb." Everyone's eyes turned to Ethan, who froze in surprise. "He's your broken bar son?" Robert nodded, placing a hand on Caleb's shoulder. "Yes. Caleb wandered off this morning before I could bring him breakfast. He's been struggling since his mother passed away last year, and I've been trying to balance work and raising him alone. When I found him, he told me about a kind boy who gave him his only food." "That boy was you." Ethan felt his cheeks burn. "It wasn't a big deal, but it was," Robert said firmly. "Kindness like that, a broken bar, it matters. Caleb told me you gave away your lunch even though you clearly didn't have much yourself. That's something I'll never forget." He handed the bag of groceries to Ethan's mother. "I wanted to thank you. Please accept this. It's just a small gesture." The bag was filled with fresh produce, meat, bread, and even a few treats. Ethan's mother's eyes welled with tears. "We broken bar, we can't accept this," she whispered. "Yes, you can," Robert insisted gently. "Consider it a thank you for raising such a compassionate young man, and I'd like to do more." "Ethan, how would you like to come by the store after school? I could use some help stacking shelves, and it comes with pay. You'd also be welcome to take home some food each week." Ethan's mouth dropped open. "Really? You mean it?" "Of course," Robert said with a smile. "Good deeds deserve to be rewarded." From that day on, Ethan's life began to change. After school, he would head to the grocery store, where Robert taught him how to stock shelves, help customers, and even manage the cash register. He earned a small wage, but to Ethan, it felt like a fortune. More importantly, he was able to bring home food, easing the burden on his parents. Caleb quickly became Ethan's best friend. They would laugh, play, and even study together. For the first time, Ethan felt like he truly belonged. Word of Ethan's kindness spread around Willow Creek. Teachers at school noticed his growing confidence. Neighbors who heard the story began stopping by the Miller house with small gifts: a bag of apples, a loaf of bread, even clothes. What had started as one simple act of compassion had sparked a chain reaction of kindness in the community. One evening, months later, Robert invited the Millers to a gathering at the store. To Ethan's shock, the townspeople were all there, clapping as he walked in. "Ethan Miller," Robert announced proudly, "reminded us all what it means to care for others. A small act of kindness can change lives." Tonight, we celebrate him and the reminder that no matter how little we have, we always have something to give. Ethan blushed, overwhelmed, as the crowd cheered. His mother hugged him tightly, whispering, "I've never been prouder of you." That night, as Ethan lay in bed, he thought about how everything had begun. One small choice, giving away his lunch, had led to so many unexpected blessings. He realized something important: kindness was like a seed. It might seem small, almost insignificant, but once planted, it could grow into something far bigger than he could ever imagine. And in his young heart, he made a promise to keep planting seeds of kindness wherever he went, no matter how hungry, tired, or unseen he might feel. Because sometimes, the smallest acts create the biggest surprises.